problem. Create, design, and then build on 3 1/10 acres of Chicago hardpan, adjacent to the city's iron-encompassed loop, a microcosm of a city, a total urban center, a total environment, a way for people, some people, to live in the marketplace. This is Marina City, one of the tallest concrete structures in the world, called by many revolutionary in both design and concept. 5 buildings, a commercial platform covering the entire site, a television studio as a focal center, an office building to form a background and fence against the yet undeveloped areas to the north, and finally, 2 towers reaching up into vertical space, living towers with forms suggesting the upward grace of growing branches and the airy open form of a sunflower petal. To achieve all this required an unbelievable amount of planning. 250 team members working for a year, calculated, then detailed with thousands of drawings, the plans and the schedules that would make the project feasible. The basic concept of 2 cylindrical towers will present 30% less wind resistance and offer the least enclosure for the greatest floor area. And this design will eliminate one of the builder's biggest problems, the useless and highly inefficient corner. Automatically, the design offers the shortest distribution network for utilities and services. Architects, engineers, contractors, technicians, manufacturers, suppliers, and consultants studied every need and planned every detail of the erection sequence. On November 22nd, 1960, they were ready to go. They started by going down 115 feet and back 1 billion years or more in geological history, down through the debris of centuries. At the surface, cinders and concrete monoliths, then old marine structures and even railroad cars, through remnants of the Chicago fire of 1870, and deeper to soft silt, clay, river water, and abandoned freight tunnels, through granitic boulders deposited on bedrock by the last glacial sheet, and finally, limestone of the Precambrian shield, the earliest era of geological history. From here, they were ready to push up over 700 feet. To gain a firm footing in Chicago required a 51B caisson drill, a truly gigantic gumbo buster, 8 stories high, weight 120 tons, the only one in the world. This rig can drill to 200 feet through natural or man-made obstructions. 148 separate times, the 3 drill rigs bit into the earth for the caisson to rock footings that would hold Marina City erect. In the best day's work, 4 of the mammoth 66-inch caissons were drilled 110 feet to rock and concreted in 24 hours. Marina City was rapidly coming up out of the mud. As caissons hit bedrock, the first of a seemingly endless fleet of ready-mix trucks arrived on the site to begin the tremendous job of supplying concrete to the gigantic marina project. If the towers are to stand, these supports must be of the highest quality. Sonic tests, the shooting of sound waves through the caissons, report on the quality and density of the concrete now hardened far below in the earth. To transfer the tremendous weight of the structure above to its newly completed legs of concrete, a heavy steel base plate is welded to the tops of the caisson dowel bars and the bottom of the high-strength column reinforcing. At last, the circular shapes of the twin towers begin to appear in a maze of heavy steel that will reinforce each tower pad. Now, the design details so carefully worked out in the years prior to construction become essential. For the 40 caissons which will carry a single tower must support over 10 million pounds of dead weight. The West Tower foundations must offer additional stability for a proposed cluster of TV masts. And so the architectural beauty of Marina City is born in deformed steel, plastic concrete, and the heat of the welder's torch. Now it is time for a new crew of workmen and a new set of building techniques to take over for the spectacular climb of 60 stories above Chicago. Just days later, the twin 32-foot diameter cores begin rising from their pads, and workmen on a continuous 15-hour work cycle begin a carefully detailed hourly schedule. To begin, iron workers are on hand to assemble the Linden crane, which, throughout construction, will lift most of the building materials. 6 a.m. A carpenter crew begins stripping the circular form which will crawl up story by story on the very concrete it is forming. By 9 o'clock, the crane has been raised. Box outs for doors and utilities positioned, and iron workers are ready to install reinforcing steel. At noon, carpenters start to raise the form. 2:30 p.m. Just 9 hours from the beginning of the cycle, the giant circular form is ready for concrete. By evening, concreting is completed and the cycle ready to begin again. Form and crane, pulling themselves up atop their own work, climb skyward with mathematical precision. At 588 feet, the first core is topped out. Now, work is extended to the remainder of the tower structure. Design calls for 14 floors of parking above the plaza level, all contained in one multi-story corkscrew ramp climbing around the central core. Again, the months spent in detailed planning result in a great saving of time and money. Lightweight fiberglass forms, although expensive, were so well constructed that they could be reused 67 times to shape ramps, columns, and floors. When stripped, they revealed concrete with a dense finish, sharp corners, and handsome detailed columns. By now, Marina City was becoming a Chicago landmark and attracting keen attention throughout the world. Trade and labor crews, trained as a perfect team, go on a 24-hour-a-day, carefully developed schedule to complete work on the remainder of the 40 floors of apartments. Working on both towers simultaneously made it possible to keep the same men on the same job, and easy for the construction supervisor to move crews from one tower to another. From now on, the ponderous ready-mix trucks with their revolving drums will arrive in a steady stream as the concrete is raised high above to waiting workmen. At 6 a.m., a typical construction cycle would start. Concrete is discharged from the hoist to a high-speed conveyor system. moving 600 feet a minute. The conveyors can feed concrete to any point on the floor. By late morning, half a floor is completed. Concreting is resumed at the starting point, then carried around the other way. At noon, surveyors are able to lay out the next floor. A crew begins hoisting up column, beam, and slab forms from 3 stories below. By 4, concreting is completed and carpenters begin erecting formwork. Electrical workers will install conduits on this formwork, which will be embedded in the concrete. The next morning, and the floor is ready for visits by a number of highly skilled work crews. First, the iron workers. Then a second electrical crew at 6 a.m. At 8 o'clock, the plumbing and sheet metal workers. At 2:30, another crew of iron workers is on the job, followed 2 hours later by a second crew to complete reinforcing work. Every 48 hours, concreting would begin and the cycle repeated. Each time, 12,000 square feet about the core would become an intrinsic part of the rapidly rising towers. Five days a week, for 4 months, high above the Chicago skyline, the work went on in all kinds of weather, until on November 22nd, 1961, the East Tower was topped out. The drawings, the planity. With major structural work completed, windows are glazed and interiors finished. Work had already been completed on utilities and elevators within each core. Far below, work continued on the office structure. And again, special forms were used to form the groined members of the first 3 stories. To achieve strong lines on the south facade of the building, special sealed forms were installed vertically to handle concreting of the thin triangular mullions. To complement the natural color of the concrete towers, walls were given an attractive, rough, yet colorful texture by shooting marble chips onto the plastic concrete. To the disappointment of many a pessimistic sidewalk superintendent, the swinging cranes, which seemed to have built themselves into a corner, were easily dismantled, then carried down on the building elevators. For a few more weeks, Chicagoans continued to gaze skyward as steelworkers erected the first of 3 TV masts atop the West Tower. The men worked and complacently walked the narrow supports 969 feet off Dearborn Street. But already people were making Marina City their home. Many weeks earlier, the first occupants had gingerly stepped out onto their scalloped balconies and stayed to revel in the unsurpassed view of Chicago and the lake. This is Marina City. The buildings clustered about the plaza, so much like the city square, present a pleasing, well-scaled architectural unity. Yet it is a personal thing also. To those who work there, to those who visit, and to those who call the towers home. It is 900 residential units, each with its own balcony, with sunlight in the winter and shade in the summer. The unique design of the towers gives everyone a private entrance. Marina City is over 180,000 square feet of office space and an ice rink. There is a marina for 700 boats and a place where you can swim the year around. There are spots in which to dine and shops where you can buy almost anything you need. Or, if you prefer, plenty of room to just walk around and look up at the towers far above you. By day, these towers display a constantly changing pattern of shadow and light playing over their circular forms, so refreshingly alive when compared to the opaque, glassy facades of most modern buildings boxing in the canyon streets of our major cities. At night, it is a city aglow. This is not a 7-hour-a-day, 5-day-a-week place to get away from. Although in the heart of town, Marina City is a place where man may become a part of his productive environment 24 hours a day, all year long. Marina City is more than a structure. It is a strong influence on the architecture of tomorrow and a realistic approach to urban planning. If its critics have not spoken kindly of it upon occasion, and if it stands perhaps a bit precociously on the still blighted north bank of the Chicago River, Marina City remains as a working, living, and realistic approach to man's relation to the city. It is one answer to our need to understand, to design, and to build as a part of, and not in opposition to, our urban environment.